Hi guys, I'm Shmee. Hello, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Winter Wonderland. So lots of you guys asked me why I took the Heritage Focus RS to the Geneva Motor Show rather than one of the other cars. Well, this is pretty much the reason. I'm now in Châtel in France, a ski resort. We've been skiing today, but now with this much snow falling and the ground kind of looking like this, I figured I'd take the car out and have a bit of fun because, to be honest, it's really quite impressive what this car can actually do. So let's jump in, take it for a quick drive and see what it's like out here in the snow. I think I'm probably correct in saying that this is the first time that one of these has been to an environment like this, completely surrounded by snow here in the French Alps. And if it wasn't quite so cloudy, you'd be able to see a fantastic view in that direction of the mountains. Mountains, meaning we are surrounded by some lovely twisty roads. Now, of course, the Heritage Edition is one of only 50 cars they made, the final version of the Mark III Ford Focus RS that pays tribute back to the 1968 Escort Mark I, and only 50 of them all painted in the bright Tief Orange paintwork. Now, before this trip, I took the RS to Gtechniq to install ceramic coating to basically make the paint pop, shine, look bright in the hope that I'd be able to get a view like this of the bright orange against a very white wintry background. So the paintwork was looked after. Earlier it was completely covered in snow before we took it out, about 20 centimetres or so of snow, so I was very delicate in wiping all that away, and even in the few minutes I've been parked back here, it is quickly getting a layer of snow back on the top of it, so I'll need to wipe it down again. It's also wearing winter tyres. Those are actually the stock wheels from my Red Edition Focus RS. I took them off when we put the BBS CIRs on, and they're fitted up with Nokian WR D4 winter tyres on all four corners, and the stock wheels and tyres still together from this car are sat at home in the garage waiting until summer comes back around. But of course, the Focus RS, the Mark III, is a four-wheel drive car. It has this very clever drift mode where it can send 90% of torque to one of the rear wheels to either side. We won't necessarily be doing that today. I think safety first, because it is quite a collector's car and many of them aren't necessarily going to be driven out in these kind of environments, but I do want to look after it because it will form part of my permanent collection in the future. So I might need to do a little bit of digging out, but another thing about it is that it has now completed the run-in process. He says, look at quite how much snow is falling on here very quickly. So I think if I just step in here carefully for the moment, I will need to go and wipe it down, just bash off my feet before stepping in. Yeah, we've got 3,725 kilometers on the clock. You need to do 1,000 miles, so about 1,600 kilometers before it is run in, which means we can now enjoy it, and that might actually be one of the highest mileage one of these out there too. I'm not entirely sure. Let me start it up. We've got Ford's, he says, there we go, come into life. We've got Ford's very nice front windscreen heater, which clears it up incredibly quickly. I think that's kind of compulsory right now. Yeah, you can see almost immediately it worked down at the bottom. And then I'm going to go out for a little drive, which I've already done, and I know how capable it is, but I'll be able to show you guys what this car can do, which is really quite breathtaking. I have now wiped away all of the snow, because you have to think about this. If you have snow on the roof of the car, when you press the brakes, it kind of slides forwards down over your windscreen and then you can't see anything. Likewise, when you accelerate, it kind of flies off the back into the windscreen of the car behind you. So it's important to wipe down the car and actually be able to see anything. So I'm going to put the car actually into sport mode, because who doesn't like exhaust crackles? I'm also going to press the traction control button once to pop that into sport mode, because otherwise, as soon as it detects the wheels are spinning, you basically don't get any power. So we don't want any of that. Manual gearbox. Well, let's head on out, and we're driving basically in, well, pretty deep snow right now. So the thing that I have to actually consider is the front splitter, which is no doubt nicely picking up some snow, but that is also protected actually by Gtechniq. They had some special stuff to put onto the plastics of the splitter. Driving through here though, what's quite interesting is that you can actually move. If you think about this, with summer tyres, right now they would probably just be spinning, yet we're able to drive with relative ease. You have to think, driving a four-wheel drive car, how different it is to front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. And I did this experience at Lapland ice driving recently, where I drove the GT3 and the Hurricane, both rear-wheel drive cars, and then one of these, a regular Mark III RS. But here, we've got a pretty steep hill to go up. I can just put my foot down, and we get the power, and up the hill we go. And that's decently steep, believe me. Now, they do a pretty good job of bashing the main roads. He says the car just comes around the corner. So we don't have too much to worry about the main roads, although they are still, you know, if you think about it, slippery. They are mostly white. We are in proper winter wonderland here, but I can just push down the power and we accelerate, and there's decent braking as well without ABS, which I mean, I haven't done too much winter driving in four-wheel drive cars. Last year when I came to the mountains, also to the French Alps, I drove in my AMG GTR, yes, with winter tyres on, but it's still, at the time, a 585 horsepower rear-wheel drive car, so it was nothing like the levels of grip that this has now. And it's all a bit of common sense, right? You know you need more space in front of you because braking can take a little bit longer, particularly when you're going downhill. You know that you have the risk of understeering depending on the situation, but you can power down, get a bit of a four-wheel slide going on, and just pull through it. You use the power in a four-wheel drive car to pull you through it. The car will go in the direction you have the front wheels. So if they're pointing, you know, if you engage the mentality of a rear-wheel drive car and go for some opposite lock, what's going to end up happening is that you're going to shoot off in that direction, which is the last thing in the world that you want. You just point and give it a bit more power, give it a bit more power, get some more traction, and give it some grip, and off you go. And the guy in front just did an interesting reversing manoeuvre, but I think everyone in this kind of place gets that same sort of feel of a bit of familiarity with driving. And here comes the basher right now, so I'm going to stay well back. Here's literally sweeping everything out of the way. That thing you do not want to mess with at all. But off we go, up a hill again, accelerate away, use some of the revs now that we're running and we can, and it just drives. I'm not sure I'd want to be a pedestrian on the road though in these conditions, but hey, this is really remarkably impressive what you can actually do. I almost wanted it to be less good so that it makes a more interesting experience, whereas the right equipment, the right type of car for it, and it just drives like this. You obviously have to watch out and be sensible and keep your wits about you. It's not too much of a big deal. The big thing here, of course, the contact point with the ground, in this case the Nokian winter tyres, which are very much at the wintry end of winter tyres. So I've driven this car on the German autobahns at 200 plus. They're rated to over 250 kilometers an hour, so that's totally fine. And what I noticed at that speed was that they didn't quite have the confidence of summer tyres. Of course, winter tyres, it's a different compound to be able to handle the colder temperatures. Whereas here, they have so much grip that you can totally see why they're made this way. If you were living in this kind of environment, this is exactly what you want to have on your car. This is the exact kind of tyre you want. Arriving up towards the top, where we have the big open car park, the thing with the Peace Basher having gone past though is it does rather limit opportunities as people are coming skiing down the road. Where can we actually enter the car park here? This looks safe enough. So this is where, just for fun, we're pointing uphill. Let's give it a lot of power. That is ridiculously fun what the car can do. Pointing up the hill, let's just try a little bit of a handbrake turn. Yep, that's spinning us right round. Gentle, you can actually get away with so much with this. It's really, really interesting. Just gonna give it a flick and pull the handbrake and just let it spin around. Then you point the wheels. Four-wheel drift going on, four-wheel drift. Honestly, I am amazed by the grip, the control, the levels of control and grip that this car has. With these tyres, this configuration, proper winter wonderland. Oh, the car just did a spin in the road. Ah, so much fun. Handbrake turn. And I stalled it! Oh no! It's embarrassing. Oh well, I put the clutch back down afterwards. We're good. It auto restarts, of course. Let me try that once more to rectify my little mishap there. Okay, back uphill, turn around. Let's get into second gear for this. And clutch down, and around we go, and into first gear. At least I didn't stall it that time. I'm a bit learning as I go, but it's just funny. It's just funny. This car is so appropriate for this environment. It's yeah, okay, Focus RS, a bit of an Asmobile sometimes. But I just stepped out of the car where the snow is blowing in my face, but take a look at this right now. I have completely filled the front with snow. Like I was saying earlier, you kind of want to get all of that out. The number plate is, well, totally illegible at the moment. The side vents full as well with the fog lights in there. And the wheels, look at the rear wheel in particular, that's basically become a snow pancake, like an eco-vehicle wheel. More aerodynamic, isn't it? It's completely... yeah, that's quite amusing. There's one other thing I want to try though. Back in the car, pop it into drift mode here and see what happens. Alrighty then, so car into drift mode, which you do by pressing this button again, not racetrack mode. Drift mode into first gear. Traction still in sport. Let's give it some power and see what happens. Yeah, you can feel the rear going round. Yes, that's definitely a four-wheel drive car with a rear-wheel drive bias there, except I think the snow's on the a touch on the deep end for this right now. Let's try this the other way around then. So give it some power. This is where up to the 90% goes to the rear left in this instance, and we're definitely spinning around, but because we're off camber, it's just a touch too hard to get the front to tuck back in, and it is still, you know, a four-wheel drive car, and you do feel that. It's not quite as completely rear-wheel drive as you might like it to be. We're kind of managing, just gently stabbing, pull the handbrake, and the back will tuck around a little bit more, still in first gear. Yeah, I'm having fun. I'm having a lot of fun, to be honest. Flick it around. Whee! I think I might have just almost bottomed out the car because the level of snow is quite ridiculous. Right, let's let it cool down just for a moment before we get completely stuck. Now that's the other thing. Being in drift mode, you obviously have the potential to be completely stuck because no-brainer, right? It's two-wheel drive basically. All the power to one on the outside of the back. So back into normal, we can pull away again. Absolutely fine. Then one of the other things that I mentioned earlier is the ABS. So just in neutral, pressing the brakes. Although it kicks in, of course, you have pretty good stopping power, even on this kind of surface. I mean, that is genuinely the fascinating thing, is what you can do. As soon as you push it too far, it will go wrong. But if you keep your wits about you, you're fairly sensible. I mean, just to bring the speedo up quickly, 50-ish kilometers per hour onto the brake, down a hill, and we come to a standstill in a longer distance than normal, but nothing absolutely ridiculously crazy. So long as you've got a good stopping distance to the vehicle in front and you're looking, then you can kind of get away with driving. But you're pretty much seeing now why I decided to bring this car on this trip rather than, say, the AMG GTR. Again, I brought it last year, but I needed an extra seat actually on this trip because there were 3 of us in the car. And just to bring skis and luggage and stuff, and to have it here and to leave it in Geneva airport when I flew to South Africa. You might have seen that between the motor show and coming here. I did actually hop across to the Southern Hemisphere, which was an unusual thing in my plans. And well, next year I suspect that this might be done in a G63, which will be right at home in this kind of driving environment. In fact, I might get carried away by what that thing can actually do, because it's a bit of a tank, isn't it? Proper four-wheel drive, proper clearing, what do you call it, ground clearance, that's the word I'm looking for, distance to anything that might be on the ground underneath it. But this was just hey, there we go, we got some pops from the exhaust. This was a nice, fun way to end a day that, as you can imagine, has been really quite fun, with a lot of snow, quite wet as well in terms of clothes, but for a skier, this is exactly the kind of day you want. Going back down here, I'm actually going to control the speed because I'm a little concerned of the ABS having to kick in with a 90-degree corner at the bottom, but that's all been completely fine. Yeah, no understeering going on, and a lot of snow has actually fallen here, even in what hasn't even been 1 hour since we left. Yeah, gotta think about this. Slightly concerning, but yeah. Just flick the background a bit. Let's see though, this is going to be the challenge. If any bit is going to be impossible, it's going to be up here. So let's keep power, moderate the power. Are we going to be able to get up? Yes, a little bit sideways, but we are getting up. And job done. I'm actually going to do a lovely 10-point turn, basically, to park here. We've still got a little bit of visibility in the rear view camera, but nonetheless I'm going to be very careful because it would be remarkably silly if I was now to hit the wall or something. Beyond stupid like that. You hear the noises of all the snow and the wheel arches. And let's come to a stop about there. Magic! Job done. Almost too easy what this car was able to achieve, but quite a lot of fun. I'm not going to complain. Perfect car for the environment, lots of fun, and that is why I chose to bring it here. And we're back then where we started, where I've slightly ditched the back of the car into the mound of snow. At least it's only snow, not actually a problem, and you can see some of the snow that was inside the wheels has kind of been shaken and melted out while we've been driving. But I will actually clear out what we've got going on here before I leave the car. Mind you, the next time I actually drive it, at the rate the snow is falling, it's probably going to be under another 20 or 30 centimetres of the white fluffy stuff or something like that. But we will see on my Instagram page. I'll post some pictures so that you can see just how much is actually falling. Good fun though, to experience the car, to drive it, to discover a bit more about it. Here in Winter Wonderland, quite literally, that was the plan. That was why the car went to Gtechniq. That's why it's wearing the Nokian winter tyres, just in case the weather conditions were exactly like this. But the bright orange against the white is what I was hoping to see. I just wish you could see slightly more of the view out here, but unfortunately that's not about to happen. Nonetheless, awesome fun. Driving the car, I think, as it was built and intended to be driven. Maybe not intended to be used exactly like that, but at least it is being used, not necessarily garage queened. And even though I do intend to keep it for the long haul. Anyway, it's getting late. I need to go and get ready, have a little break inside. Thank you very much for watching. As always, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll catch up with you again very soon. Cheers.